Hi everybody, welcome to Dandelion Cottage and Watercolor Wednesday. I'm Leslie Watkins. I hope everybody's well and staying warm. It's a little bit chilly here at Dandelion Cottage. I've got my down vest on. I've got the fire blasting, but it's still cold. I'm going to be continuing today with the watercolor series of little figures that I'm using to decorate this journal. And I'm going to give you a update. I'm going to show you how it's coming along. I've been working on it. And tomorrow, for paper crafting Thursday at 12 noon, I'm going to show you how it all comes together. But today, I still need to paint a few little figures to add to the book. And so I thought I would show you how I would go about quickly painting some of these characters, and then later I'm going to cut them out with the dies and use them to decorate the book. So let's get started. So the figures that I'm using are from this stamp set, which is called Storybook Friends. And they're very cute. They're very reminiscent of Beatrix Potter, who's one of my favorites. I love Beatrix Potter because she's such a fine watercolor painter. And if you don't know about her more serious paintings, look up her studies on mushrooms and her scientific studies. They're wonderful. And actually her fame as a children's book illustrator comes from her letters that she was sending to a little friend of hers, and she would illustrate the letters to this child, and that's how the books were born. She later went on to become a very fine conservationist in the Lake District, where she was responsible for helping to promote the beauty of the region, as well as the agricultural and the farming traditions that that had gone on there for many years, including a certain heritage breed of sheep, which is kind of interesting because I actually grew up on a sheep farm also. So anyway, so a lot of parallels between Beatrix Potter and myself, and I hold her in the highest regard. So when this little stamp set came out featuring these bunnies, and I think they're chipmunks and a hedgehog, I was kind of excited because I knew that I was going to have the opportunity to create a cute little journal project that I could share with you. So what I've done is I've pre-stamped some of the images. So here are some of the characters, and this is just done in a neutral ink. I think this was gray granite, but it could be anything. If you are a stamper and you'd like to incorporate some watercolor technique into the classes that you offer your students, you can also follow along with the liquid re-inkers, which are the little bottles that we use to re-ink the stamp pads, because basically it's water-based ink and it works very much the way watercolor does. Now today I'm going to be using watercolors. I have my palette here, and on it I just have three colors. I've got yellow, red, and blue. This yellow is the same yellow on both corners, and I think it's really important to stick with a limited palette because it really helps you to understand your color mixtures. And color mixtures, value, composition, design, perspective, those are all things that I go into much deeper in my watercolor courses, which you can learn more about when you subscribe to Notes from Dandelion Cottage. And you can do that on my website at dandelioncottagedesign.com, or if you're watching on Facebook, there is a button up above that says sign up, and that will bring you to the subscription for Notes. And when you subscribe to the email list, I will be able to send you information on upcoming classes, events, I've got some things coming right up, so you don't want to miss that. There's going to be a special live Zoom class that I'm offering to all my followers. So if you're interested in something like that on how to begin painting with watercolor, please make sure that you're subscribed. Okay, so let's get busy. I'm just going to check my settings over here, make sure that everybody can see and hear me all right. And I don't see it yet. Okay, checking. It looks like my internet is very slow today. But yes, okay, now I can see the image. All right, so let me know where you're tuning in from. Let me know that you can see and hear me okay. And we're going to get started. So let me just share my palette with you for a minute. So when I want to make a neutral tone, so in this case I want to create a kind of a sort of a neutral brown tone for the fur of the rabbits, what I do is I simply take all of my primary colors, so my yellow, my red, and my blue, and I mix them all together. And that's going to give me something that I can then adjust. So depending on which way I want it to go, if I want to warm it up or if I want to cool it down, I can add one of the primaries to get it right where I want it. So there you see a kind of a grayish brown, a very kind of a watery mix, and that's perfect. So I'm going to start by just painting a light tone very quickly. And I think I'm going to zoom you in a little bit so you can see better because these are quite tiny. There we go. I'll try not to get my head in the camera. And I also have a paper towel off to the side, and I can use that to remove excess moisture from my brush. And I'm just very lightly going to begin to paint the shapes of these little critters. And I am not going into the light areas. So for instance, on this fellow, I don't want his belly to be dark, so I'm going to leave that white. And then I'm just going to very quickly go over the rest of these little critters. Now, if you are interested in learning more about watercolor and getting watercolor tips and seeing what other people are doing, we also have a group, and this is a private Facebook group. It's called Watercolor and Stamping Up Paper Crafting Projects, and everybody's welcome to join. It's a big group. It's designed specifically for paper crafters who love watercolor and also for folks that have a large stash of product that they're hoping to use up and are looking for some inspiration. And everybody's welcome. It features primarily Stampin' Up! Product, and it doesn't have to be current. It can be retired product, whatever you love. So the purpose of the group is really to inspire everybody and to reignite your creativity. So if you're feeling like you don't know what to do, maybe your supplies are kind of piling up, then this group might be just the thing to get you back into the creative mode. There are also tips on watercolor painting and decluttering and storage and all sorts of things. And you're also able to post pictures of your projects to share with other people, and you can see what other people are doing as well. There are some themed projects that are offered each month. Right now we've got a Valentine theme going on. So if you're interested in joining the group, all you have to do is go there and ask to be invited in. It helps if you put your name below. Just make a comment so I can see your name, because then I'll recognize it and I'll be able to let you right in. And the name of that group again is Watercolor and Stamping Up Paper Crafting Projects. But it's not limited to just that, okay? It's as I mentioned, it's all about inspiration and creativity. So if you've got something else that you want to share with the group, we'd love to see it. All right, and then finally we've got our little hedgehog friend here, and she's got an apron on. We're going to pretend that this little hedgehog is a porcupine, because where I live we don't have hedgehogs, but we do have porcupines. Last night when I was turning out the lights outside, I looked outside the porch and there was a raccoon, and he was out on the front patio looking for bird seed that the birds had dropped from the feeders. And I have to say, I felt kind of sorry for him because it was bitter cold. So I hope they all have a nice warm den to retreat to. All right, so now that I've got the main shape of the bodies filled in, I'm just going to add a few other color touches. Like I want to put a little bit of pink in the ears, like so, giving the clothes a little bit of color. I'm going to go back to that kind of a peachy pink tone for the girl bunny. Get that started. There we go. So I hope you'll join me for this live Zoom that's coming right up. If you are interested, please make sure that you are subscribed to notes before the weekend, because that announcement and that invitation is going to be going out very soon, and I don't want you to miss it. I don't do this very often, and I know people really enjoy it because you get to see a painting presentation followed by a question and answer session. So if you have any questions at all, you'll be able to do that as well. All right, so let's get this delicious cabbage. I think it's a cabbage. I guess it could be lettuce, depending on what your preference may be. It's kind of fluffy. Maybe it is a lettuce. There we go. We have a bow tie over here. Maybe we'll make that kind of a violet color. And we'll get the porcupine's face. And I think we've got just about everything. And this little fellow, looks like he has a radish or a carrot, hard to tell. some little green leaves. All right, so now that we've got the first coat of paint on there, we can go back in and start to create some form. So now for that, I'm just going to take the same mixture, but this time a little darker, more pigment, less water, so that it's a thicker paint and slightly darker. And I'm just going to use that to go into the areas where it's starting to get the underplanes and a little bit of a shadowy area. And I can go back and soften some of those edges so it blends a little nicer. And I'm still not going full strength, okay? So what I'm doing is I'm just going a little bit darker than what I had there. And I'm preserving the light areas. Okay, so in just a couple of minutes, you start to see something developing. I have to get that little basket there. I'll come back for that. In addition to assembling the journal tomorrow on Paper Crafting Thursday at 12 noon Eastern Standard Time, I'm also going to be doing a little bit of heat embossing on the cover, and I'm going to use one of these little bunnies, maybe this one that I'm painting now, to decorate the back cover, because I'm adding some gold accents here and there to add a little texture, a little sparkle, as I like to do. Okay, that's about half of them done. Hey Carol, hi Carol, hi Bev. Bev says she likes watching me paint. Well, I'm glad you're here. I hope that you've got some fun projects going on in your craft rooms today. What's happening? What's happening in your neck of the woods? Does anybody ever say that expression anymore? My parents used to say that when I was little. What's happening in your neck of the woods? Of course, we lived in the country. When I was little, and I started going to school, the school that I went to was 12 or K through 12. There were so few students at that time in my town that they just had one brick building for all the grades. Now it's huge. There's 3 or 4 different schools. There's a middle school. There are loads and loads of children. It's changed tremendously. But when I was little, we all went to the same school, and I lived on top of a mountain. And my mother and I lived in a tiny house that was actually a lot like what Dandelion Cottage looked like when I first got it. It's funny how these things keep coming up in our lives. But anyway, the school bus would come and pick me up, and I'd climb on, and it was the last, I think it was the last stop for the school bus. And there was a girl, an older girl, and she was probably in high school. I don't remember very well because this was a long, long time ago. But she used to love to sketch horses. And I was extremely shy. We lived in a very rural, remote place, so I wasn't used to a lot of people, and I didn't have a lot of friends. I spent most of my time playing in the woods with my dogs and other critters. But I always loved art. And this girl would be sitting on the bus sketching these beautiful sketches of horses. I thought it was pure magic. And I would sit next to her. And of course, I never said a word, and she never talked to me, but she would let me sit next to her and watch her draw. And I was mesmerized. I was just charmed. And I was always like that. Whenever somebody would sketch or draw, I would kind of freeze and just watch. And I've been told many times, particularly since I've been offering these videos online, that people love to just watch me paint. So thank you for that, Bev. Oh, look at we've got more people on here. We've got Celeste. Hi, Celeste. Hi, Andrea, and Marg. Thank you all for coming on. And there's Ginger. What does Ginger say? I looked up your neck of the woods. It's been in use since the 1850s, meaning exactly what it sounds like. A strip of land, usually in the woods, that looks like a neck of an animal. Don't know why. I thought it... Well, I think that's pretty mysterious, Ginger. Well, thank you for looking that up. That's very fun. I love entomology, the origins of words. It's so interesting, and you learn so much. All right, so now I'm just going back in with a few little touches here and there just to increase those areas where I've increased the values. Also, in the watercolor and Stampin' Up! Paper crafting project group, I'm gonna start posting tips. So quick tips for quick wins. I'm going to begin with a series of top 10 watercolor tips, and then maybe we'll get into paper crafting. Maybe we can do some decluttering and stash busting. All the things that we're all interested in and that we all learn from one another. So when you see me post those things in the group, make sure that you add your tips to them so that we can all get better and better at the things we love doing. I'm just softening these edges so we have a smoother transition. And I think I'm just about done here with this portion. Okay, I can always go back in and make any adjustments once everything is completely dry. Right now it's fairly damp. And now I need to do the same thing to some of the clothing. So for instance, I can get this bunny's blue jeans. Actually, I guess they're overalls. He's got suspenders. Does anybody have any questions about what I'm doing? Put them in the comments. I'll look up in just a moment. Has anybody, I should say, started playing with this stamp set? What are you making? It is so cute. Also, I think I mentioned that you can get the stamps as a bundle with the dies, and in the dies are some beautiful little ornate frames, which I'm going to be using in the little book. So I'm going to start later today after the video. I'm going to start cutting out a bunch of things that I think I'll want for tomorrow's Paper Crafting Thursday. Now, I don't want to fuss too much with this. I mean, these things are very, very tiny. I mean, I think you can see I'm just about the size of my thumb, right? So we don't want to get too crazy with the details. Just enough. You want the characters to be able to read. So as the viewer is looking through your book, or maybe you're turning the book into an album or a diary or a I don't know, a travel log. I think it would be really perfect for a photo album for a child. But whatever it is, you want everything to be able to be easily understood. So I'm going into my paints, and I'm taking my blue and my red and making a very strong, dark blue violet. Why don't I show you what I'm doing? Okay, so this is very thick, sort of inky consistency. I can take a little bit of this yellow and tone down that violet so it's a little more neutral, but still very, very dark. Okay, and actually I'm going to switch brushes for this because this is sort of a medium-sized brush. So let me get out a tiny brush. Okay, and then I'm just going to pick up that very dark mixture, and I'm sort of twirling my brush on the palette to make sure that my point is nice and pointy. Okay, and you can see what a beautiful point these brushes come to. And now I can use that to just sort of go in and begin to indicate these eyes. Now, I do have to put my head down for this, so I'm going to take off my glasses so I can put my close seeing eyes on, and I'm just going to very carefully get the darks of these eyes started. And I may go back in and do this a couple of times to get it just as dark as I like, because don't forget that the watercolors will dry a little bit lighter than what they appear. Again, I'm getting more of the pigment, twirling my brush so I have a nice point. It's important to have a good point for this. And you know what? If your brush doesn't have a nice point, then you can use a marker. One of the Stamp and Write markers would be great. You don't have to use a black. It could be a dark tone, like a dark gray, or a dark grayish brown, like the Pebbled Path. So just enough. All right, so let's see what we've got here. All right, that's coming along now. And then the last thing I would do would be to go in and add some accents. And again, I'm using this little brush because I'm just getting some of the line work back in. Not to create lines, but to create a little of the detail that I may have lost as I was painting. Okay, so I'm just sort of going around, grabbing all that. This guy's got a little pocket, his arm, and get his paw. Now, there's a basket of veggies here that is super tiny, but I can indicate there's a little bit of green, and maybe some orange or red. That something's going on in there. And then this fella, what does he have? He's got a flower. Okay, well, maybe it'll be a pink flower. This is super. You really do need a teensy tiny brush or a marker to get into these eensy beensy places. All right, so I'm going to let this dry. That's the beginning of my characters, so I'm going to give them a chance to dry off a little bit. I know that there are some places, some areas that I need to go darker yet into. So for instance, on this little fellow here, I can use the point of my brush to indicate some of the texture of his or her fur. Same over here. Okay, just little lines, just to give it a little more of a furry effect. Picked up a little red there, that's okay. So let me just check your notes here. It looks like everybody's busy writing. Beverly's starting her very first scrapbook. Oh, well, you will love this set, Bev. Are you using the Storybook Friends to do that? That would be perfect. She's a great granddaughter. Wow. And Carol's working on her paper pumpkin kits. Good for you. All right. Well, thank you so much, everybody, for joining me today. I hope I gave you some ideas, and I hope you're interested in getting this set. If anybody's interested, I will have a link that I'll post that will have a supply list. And if you decide that you'd like to purchase any of the things that I used today, you'll find out that there's a really good special, really good promotion going on right now. So check that out. Remember to please join the Stampin' Up! No, let me say this right. Watercolor and Stampin' Up! Paper Crafting Projects group, because it's my private group where I share all sorts of tips and ideas, and there are other projects and lots of folks that have great ideas for stash busting, decluttering, and just all sorts of things. So it's a lot of fun. And don't forget to subscribe to Notes, because I will be sending out an invitation to join me in a free online Zoom class, so you don't want to miss that. So thank you all. Have a great day. Come back tomorrow for Paper Crafting Thursday at 12 noon. I'll be using these little critters in the journal, and I'll be putting it all together. I think I've got somebody creeping behind me. Yes, there's Cersei. She's doing a photo bomb. Oh, what are you doing? What are you doing right there? so cute. So stay well, stay creative, stay happy, and I'll see you next time.